Hello, Northflow community. Welcome to the very first episode of Behind the Workflow. My name is Simona, and I'm here today as one of the co founders of Northflow. Also, sitting here with two of the other three co founders of Northflow. And we are so excited to be here with you today. So let's say hello to Taly really quick. Hi, Taly.
Hey, Simona.
And let's say hello to Fran. Hello, Fran.
Hey guys.
And we would be remiss if we didn't mention our fourth co founder, Netto, who can't be here with us for this recording today, here in spirit. And we will tell you a little bit about him as we get into it. Today's episode is an overview of Behind the Workflow, why Behind the Workflow, and a little bit about the three of us, plus Netto, about our journeys and why we're here, what we're doing with Northflow, and what we're hoping that you're going to gain from our journey into podcasting. So, I guess to get started, we're going to do this a little bit interview style today. To get started, I would love if we can all introduce ourselves, introduce what our sort of the hats that we wear within Northflow. We're not big on roles, we're not big on like titles or anything like that, but we all do have our area of expertise. So feel free to hop in, you guys. Taly, Fran, whoever wants to go first, share a little bit about your role within Northflow. And I would love to know some of the journey that got you to this spot here.
All right. So originally, I'm a user experience designer. So part of starting Northflow was doing a lot of the research, like talking to people and really hearing their pain and like what are some of the things you're struggling when you're trying to record an episode, and when you're planning your show, what are some of the things that you need. So having that experience as a user experience designer and just overall like understanding the user flow and understanding what the user needs has been very helpful for us building Northflow. And one of the things that I do here at Northflow, as you probably have noticed by now, is I reach out to people. So you get emails from me, you will see me on Facebook and Instagram. Like I try to reach out to people on LinkedIn. I'm always like, hey, try Northflow out. Tell me what you think. I would really like your feedback. Another thing that I'll be focusing on more in the future is also community building. So whenever we do have a Northflow community, I'll be the person that's going to be leading that and still like talking to people, getting the feedback, and always on talking to people and getting the feedback that we're asking, and also just like listening to some of your needs in general.
I love that. And she is so, so good at it. If you've received an email or a message from Taly, you have to open it because, first of all, she's probably one of the kindest and nicest people I've ever met. And secondly, she's actually genuinely reaching out as like a, person to person basis. So it's amazing. And also, Taly, I want to know before we shift over and hear a little bit about Fran and his journey, I want to know why you felt called to being part of the Northflow team. Like you could be doing anything. So what is it specifically about Northflow that drew you to it?
So I am a podcast hoarder. Like I probably listen to 10 different podcasts all, like at the same time. Like during the week, I have my habits of which ones that I listen to and so on. And I was actually listening to a podcast called Startup for the Rest of Us. And Rob, which he's also the one of the founders of a startup I've been following for a while, he mentioned about this issue, like how podcasters, they don't really have like a way to keep track of like their planning and their episodes in a way that's just focused for the podcast industry. And me as a problem solver, like I love to just start looking at things and like how would I be going to solve that. I was like, okay, I need to talk to Fran and Netto, like how can we possibly turn this into something. And right after that, I think that same day we started talking about it, and Frank can go into a little bit more of how we actually started the journey of reaching out to people, creating an MVP, and sharing a prototype on all of those first initial calls that we got on.
That's amazing. I love this so much because for our listeners today, I joined Northflow after it had already kind of been sort of created a little bit. Like there was already a website, there was already a basis for a product. So Taly, Fran, and Netto really started it up together and like conceptualized the entire thing and then brought me in afterwards, which I'll share a little bit about in a second. But Fran, I would love if you can introduce yourself, a little bit about your role within our company and the why behind Northflow, and then some of what Taly was saying too, the actual building pieces there.
All right. So I've been doing product since I can remember, building ideas, and Northflow just seemed to be a very logical path for us to take. I remember having this conversation with Taly when she brought up the idea of possibly building something that would help creators to build this way for managing podcasts and managing content and so forth. And at the time, I was still working with a different startup. So it all sounded really interesting, but I couldn't really do anything about it. And the funny thing about this is that I've worked on different startups with Tally in the past. And the first one that we built, it was also Tally's idea. So she brought up the idea for this product that we could build, which we did. She's really good at recruiting, talking to people, learning their experience, and bringing that experience into the product, which made that first product launch real fast. One night we were having this conversation with one person. We ended up turning that into a live. And I remember that she brought so many people into that live that we ended up doubling the amount of users we had that day. Um, so
Wow.
Tally has always been really good at recruiting people, learning their experience with how they try to solve the problem and bringing in the problem in a way that we can turn that into a product. So that's kind of what happened with Northflow. At the time, I was kind of
So
busy
cool.
with something else. I couldn't do anything else, but we were exploring the idea, playing around, and Tally really quickly got involved with a bunch of different communities, talked to a lot of people. I was able to join some of the calls, and little by little, it became something very solid. We brought in the idea to Netto as the most technical person, and he looked at it and he was basically saying, "Well, this is doable. I think we could experiment with this." And since me and Tali already worked in the past together, we kind of knew how to work together. And also, Nato and I, we've done work together, but we never built anything for ourselves together. So it was a really good opportunity to just kind of tie everything together and say, hey, let's give it a try. Let's build this. We love doing, the process of building systems and putting systems in place. And I've mentioned this before with some of the folks we talked to. I love Notion. So I love putting database together, connecting things together. And eventually it became really clear that Notion is a great tool. But when it comes to creating a process that's repeatable, where you have to involve a bunch of other people, it can become really complex really fast.
Mhm.
And so that's when we spoke with a few people that are using Notion for podcast management, and we could see how difficult that would get. And his process is phenomenal. It's fantastic. But when you have a bunch of different people working on it, every little bitty thing that you might do with a database, with a relational connection, can break the whole thing. And that's
Mhm.
when we sat down and we tried to figure out a way to build something that it would be solid. There's no risk of clicking on the wrong place and breaking the whole thing. That's kind of how it all started, but there's so much more we could share, and I think in time we'll be able to.
Oh, 100%. And I think we'll definitely have to do, like, follow-up conversations to this conversation. Tally, did you wanna add
Yes.
anything?
Yes, yes. I actually want to ask you, Simona. I have a question for you. So you've
Sure.
been with us for, I want to say about a little over 6 months, and as the
Yeah.
founder of Volt Production as well, and Chief Marketing Officer, I just wanted to ask what actually inspired you to join Artflow, because you were one of the people that we talked to in the beginning. Like, well, I do have this thing that I sent Simona an email and she never opened, but I kept trying. Like I kept reaching out to her, and eventually she replied. So that's our inside joke. But you were one of the people that we talked to in the beginning before Northflow was what it is now. And you were able to show your workflow to us. And what made you interested in joining Northflow as a co-founder?
That's a really good question. So I am a very big energy person. For me, energy is everything. And when we met and you showed me North Flow, instantly I was like, oh, I was like, I like this. I believe in what she's saying and I like this product. And this is something that I would actually use. And so, right off the bat, like, I believe that any product you can, I probably, I probably shouldn't say this, but I believe that any product, like, you can make it work if you really wanted to, right? So things like Trello, things like Notion, things like ClickUp, if you really took the time to like build it all out and whatever, you probably could create something that's decent. And that's kind of what we did with Trello. So before using Northflow, my whole agency ran off of Trello. And it was great for the time for what it was, but it didn't give me any flexibility in being able to share things with clients or bring in collaborators or anything like that. So then when I saw the product, first of all, when we met, I was like, "Oh, I just like I just love being in this energy," which is a huge thing for me. I don't work with anybody that I don't feel that with. And then on top of that was like, wow, this is a product that will actually help solve a problem, right? So I feel like I don't really add things to my plate that I don't have the time for or that I don't think would actually be something that is going to be useful and helpful and that will change and shift the way things are done. But when you guys had approached me and asked me to be part of Northflow in a more significant way as one of our co-founders, it was an immediate yes for me because first of all, the people that you work with and you surround yourself with are so important. And then secondly, this is a product that will actually shift the podcasting world and the podcasting space. And I'm also a believer in like saying yes to anything that feels energetically aligned. And so I was like, this feels like a really fun adventure. Like this feels like a fun thing to be a part of. I've never been part of, a SaaS company. I mean, I guess my agency is kind of like startup, if you will, but not really. It's something that I started up on my own. And so working with other co-founders and the possibility to create something that completely changes people's lives is so cool to me, and being able to connect with other creators and to get to do this every day was just so inspiring to me. So I absolutely loved it. So yeah, so that's why I joined. I hope that answers the question. But I've loved it since the beginning. And even as we meet with new people, it's always been an easy yes. It's always been an easy thing to do every single day. And I think too, people say like if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Like I don't necessarily believe that. Like I think that things take work, but when you love what you do, you don't feel overwhelmed in like the amount of things that you have to do. You know what I mean? Like you always have to do some kind of quote unquote work, but this is so much fun that how can you not? And I was honored, like to even be considered. I was like, me? Okay.
If I can add something to it, Simona, it's
Please.
really funny because when we decided to invite you, we had a few people in mind, but we're like, well, it'd be really nice if Simona said yes,
Wow.
because the connection was just there. It was very noticeable because both me, Taly and Netto, we're all super technical when it comes to product, and you're the expert. You know the ins and outs of podcasting. And even though we can do all the research, we can talk to hundreds and thousands of people, nothing beats actually sitting down with someone that's been involved in it throughout this whole time and being part of it and owning it with us. And I think that that was huge for us because like you said, we enjoy the process of creating things. And this past startup that I was part of, it was really hard. We did a lot of things, but the fun part of it is you get to know a lot of awesome people. You get to do a
Mhm.
lot of work with great people, and you can see the impact your work is causing in their lives. And it's a positive impact. And seeing that positive impact really drives you. And at the end of the day, it's a little addictive to be
Yeah.
honest. And I remember right at the end
I
of that
know.
startup, right at the end of that startup, I remember having a conversation with a couple of people. We were in between this, are we going to shut down or we're going to be acquired? We had a lot of things up in the air. And I remember somebody asking me, what are you going to do afterwards? And I was like, man, I don't know. But back of my mind, I knew that we are going to end up doing something because I want to continue to build value and do something that we can see the effects of what we're building into other people's lives. And so when I talked to you, I could see that same energy. I could see that same mindset. And I was like, that's perfect because she not only understands what we're doing and the industry as a whole, she brings a lot of value as a person in this team. And so when
Thank
you when
you.
you replied and you said, yeah, I would like to join, that was so awesome because we look forward to work with people that when we wake up on Monday morning, we're not going to be dredging and thinking, ugh, I have to get on a call with this person. And you're not that. We look forward to get on a call and get the stuff done and share and strategize and do all of those things. So it was great for us as well.
I love that. Thank you. And of course, we have Netto, who is not on here with us today. But as we wrap up, do we want to share a little bit about Netto's sort of role, responsibilities, what he does behind the scenes?
Yes, if I could put a title for him, because like you mentioned at the beginning, we're not really big on title, but he would be the CTO. He's the technical guy. I was looking into how difficult it would be to build something, how long it would take. and how much it would cost us. And he's the guy that's, creating the development environment on the back end so that we all have access to stuff before we publish it. I've been doing work with Netto for a very long time, and we've built startups for other people and big corporations and
Wow.
startups and so forth. But we never got to actually work together and build something for ourselves. So we've worked together, providing services for other people. So Northflow has become the perfect opportunity because I've always enjoyed working with him. He's that guy that shines under pressure. He's capable of solving problems super fast. He's really able to look forward and be able to plan something now that might be a little difficult to build now, but it makes sense to have it in the future. And so I love that. And that's really helpful, especially in a startup, and having a founder that has the ability to not just think of the now and getting it done quickly, but also being able to prepare the basis for the future. I think that's fantastic. And I'm really excited to have him on the team.
Me too. I love it. Tally, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
Yes, one thing that I always like to mention, and you probably heard me saying this a million times, is like what we're trying to do here in Northflow. We're trying to build with everybody in mind, but we're also trying to build in public. Like
Mm.
we're sharing every step of the way, everything that we're doing. We like to give feedback. We like to get people to vote on like what we're building next and so on. But one of the things I also want to mention is like we're fully bootstrapped. So from day one, we're the ones like coming up with being able to fund a company and be able to build all the features. So it's important to mention that because I think it just opens up like, hey, we're doing this as a community. And that's one of the things that I really loved about the podcast industry. Every time we talk to someone, like it's really like it's a community. As we're building this, we're sharing every single step of the way, like all of our struggles, all of our wins, and it's been nice to be on this journey with this amazing team of people that we're working with and all of the people that we've been talking to the past year and a half or so.
Thank you both so much for being on here today. I'm so excited to officially kick off our podcast. So, with that, I'm Simona.
And I'm Tally.
And I am Fran.
And of course, Netto. And we are taking you behind the workflow. We'll see you next time.